Today we're driving the Rivian R1S Adventure Performance Dual Motor. I've spent all week in this. Let's talk about what it's been like to live with and drive on a daily basis. We spent some time in R1T about a year and a half ago out in California. Had a great time in that truck, but ever since then, I've wanted to experience the R1S. Rivian has refreshed this R1S for the 2025 model year. They've simplified some of the electronics. There's less wiring, fewer ECUs and modules. They've kind of simplified the architecture here, and it makes for mostly the same vehicle to drive and live with and experience. There are a few tweaks and changes and improvements. The infotainment feels a little bit quicker. The suspension's a bit softer and nicer tuned. We have a pretty cool spec on this R1S. Let's go outside and we'll walk you guys around it. The performance pack on this R1S costs $5,000, and it gives this 665 horsepower, 829 pound-feet of torque. And this isn't even the most powerful R1S. The quad motor makes 1,025 horsepower. It's just insane because this is already fast enough, especially on these all-terrain Pirelli Scorpion tires. The max battery pack option gives you a range of 410 miles on a full charge. This all-terrain package brings that down to 370 miles of driving range. About a 40-mile range hit with all-terrain tires. Not too bad. These are super aggressive looking. This 20-inch dark all-terrain wheel and tire package looks awesome. 275/65 R20 Pirelli Scorpion all-terrain tires. Again, that's 34-inch sizing. It looks proper on this R1S. And of course, with this air suspension, you can raise this up and get up to 16 inches of ground clearance, which is absolutely insane. Outside, the Rivian R1S, I think, is probably one of the best looking SUVs on the road. It just looks fantastic to my eye. The proportions, the design language, it all just looks really nice. Inside, it's pretty attractive too, and there's great packaging here all throughout this SUV. There's a lot of room inside this thing to put people and stuff. You've got a split tailgate that folds down and out, a little bit more storage down there, and then the third row, which we will raise up. You can see with the second row folded down, tons of cargo space in the back of this R1S. And it looks like you do have to fold this up on your own. These door handles do take some getting used to. I'm not the biggest fan of them, if I'm being honest. They are kind of hard to grab onto, and it might not be the best design decision for wintry climates when they could potentially ice over. If these are folded down, they will lock into place, so you have to go to either side to fold up the second row. We have a nice adjustable backrest and tons of space in the back of this R1S. Nice adjustability there. Easy to move on the sliders, completely flat floor. Right now, this is in the kneel position with the air suspension height, so it makes it a little bit easier to get in and out of. We've got rear climate control, some storage behind the seats, a bit of a hook right here, USB-C outlet. Here's your armrest. Lots of room back here for child seats, for people, for stuff. Really nice interior design all throughout. Rivian's always done a great job with that. This is the black mountain and dark ash wood interior package. Let's take a look at our third row here. That folds forward very easily. We can raise up these seats right here. Headrest, no problem. There we go. That's actually a pretty decent amount of space in the back of this. Not too bad. And then just press this button to get out. Easy to operate, all mechanical, very nice. Let's show you guys what the front trunk looks like. Button right there. This pops open nice and quickly. And this is a huge space. One of the bigger front trunks that I've seen in this class. There's more storage space under here. Little cargo bag. Here's your air compressor hose, a first aid kit. Yeah, really nice. open your charge port right here. You can also do this with your key fob or in the infotainment screen. All right, let's hop up front. We'll walk you guys around the interior, and then we'll go for a drive. Rivian didn't give me a key fob this week, so if I want to start up the vehicle, all I have to do is just tap this key right here. Everything, just about everything, is controlled in the screen. Rivian is definitely taking some pages out of Tesla's book here. A lot of things, even the vent controls, is all what Tesla done. They basically just copied a bunch of stuff. Some of it works well, some of it doesn't. Honestly, I would have preferred more physical controls in a utilitarian truck or SUV. Even though it's electric, I feel like a lot of this stuff is unnecessary. The screen is pretty quick to respond. It's reasonably well laid out, but it is a distracting system to use. I have gotten used to it this week, but at the end of the day, it does cause you to take your eyes off the road more than I would like in a vehicle this big and heavy. On these all-terrain tires, it doesn't track very straight, so you're always having to make little steering corrections. A quick tap here to access all of your climate controls, heated seats, steering wheel, all that stuff, defrost, rear defrost. Here's all of your music. You have Spotify, radio, no satellite radio, strangely. You get Apple Music, Audible, and then your phone Bluetooth connection. Unfortunately, no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto here. You can access all of your drive modes right here. All-purpose, sport, snow, all-terrain. We can change our ride height from standard to high. High mode lowers at 45 miles an hour. That is pretty amazing ground clearance there. Good breakover angle. Awesome approach angle. And of course, because this is electric, we have a completely flat floor with about 16 inches of ground clearance. Awesome. Nice big recovery hooks right there. Yeah, that looks proper. Your suspension raises and lowers pretty quickly too. We'll go back into our all-purpose drive mode. You can see some more information over here to the right side of the display. Motor temperature, tire pressure, trip information, battery temperature, elevation. We have a few settings. You can change your display theme from bright to dark. Dark actually looks pretty nice, but for today's purposes, filming video, I think the bright display is a little bit easier to see. Lots of different settings in here. Again, this is one of the nicer infotainment screens to use. It's pretty quick. Everything's organized well. The cameras are really high resolution, easy to see. They fill up the whole display. You can control your interior lights right there. Those are nice and bright. Pop your charge port, front trunk, tailgate in this little drop-down menu right here. You've got some more settings like car wash mode, pet comfort, turn your displays off. Turn off the rear display right here for climate and rear passengers. I mean, overall, you get to know this Rivian R1S, how to operate everything in here, just like you do a Tesla. Let's look at storage. There's a super deep storage compartment down here. Place to put your phone right here. Strangely though, when I put my iPhone here, it just opens up Apple Pay. You got a nice slot right here to put your phone. Here are your cup holders or water bottle holders. Nice placement there. Kind of another storage place right there that you can hide things in. And then this huge, wide, deep place to put a bag or what have you. Everything's lined with a nice grippy rubber material so it doesn't slide around. Visors are nice and big. They slide. We've got a nice looking mirror there. No complaints. Sunroof has a nice tint to it. You can option for a dynamic sky roof, which will turn from bright to dark with the tap of a button or something on the screen. That's not optioned on this R1S, but that is pretty cool to have. All the interior materials look really nice. The finishing and build quality on this R1S looks pretty good too. The touch points are quite good. Steering wheel leather isn't as soft as maybe I would like for $100,000, and there are quite a few rattles in this interior, which brings me to my first complaint about the R1S and the R1T is that they're just a little bit loud to drive down the road. There's a lot of NVH over potholes and bumps. You get kind of this boomy, bassy noise that reverberates through the cabin over potholes. We've got a Pretty bumpy road coming up here early on in our test route. So let's get behind the wheel, start driving, and listen to what this sounds like on some bumpier pavement here in Southeast Michigan. We're going to start off in our all-purpose drive mode. Ride height is set to standard. Ride feel, suspension stiffness is moderate. I found that soft is a little bit too squishy and bouncy. And I've been driving around with my regen set to low, and that seems to be a really nice, comfortable setting. You can change that from low to high to standard. As far as I know, you can only one pedal drive this R1S, and it's a really well-tuned system. Steering is light. You do feel a little bit of a delay on turn-in and squish from these Pirelli all-terrain tires, but overall this handles amazingly well for the off-road capability that this has. Really good road manners here, and tons of power. Letting off that accelerator pedal, regen brings us to a stop very smoothly, very seamlessly. Let's go into sport mode for a second. That'll stiffen up our suspension, give us a bit better body control. It's fast. It's properly fast. This R1S does things around a corner and in a straight line that it has no business doing. It's incredible. It does it all. You even get some pretty cool sounding electric motor whine when you're at full throttle. Also, this is worth mentioning, the accelerator pedal has so much travel. It almost feels like you're going this far. You're not. It's really only about maybe a few inches. But initially, it's tuned really nicely, really linearly, but you get deep into that accelerator pedal, and it feels like you're just pushing it so far down to get all that power. It's an event every time. The immediacy and the sound from this R1S under hard acceleration just doesn't get old. It's awesome. Turn signal cameras like those, even though visibility in this is excellent. You can easily set cruise control just by pulling back on your gear stalk right there. Change speed right there. You can skip 5-mile-an-hour increments, do single-mile-an-hour changes as well. Following distance is easy to adjust. Just swipe up and down right here. Pull back twice for highway driving assist, and just sit back and relax. At speed, it's pretty quiet, and overall, this R1S drives incredibly well. I think, as a do-it-all SUV, it's really hard to beat this. There are maybe some more options on the market that cost a little bit less money, that drive a lot better on the street, like the Kia EV9, but nothing quite has the road presence and cool factor of this R1S. Let's change drive modes. Let's go back to all-purpose. Looks like we have to disable cruise control to do that. That's nice. All right. Like I said earlier, these all-terrain tires do tend to wander around the road some, but overall, dynamically, this R1S rides a lot better than it used to. Much more controlled over bumps, doesn't seem to skip around as much. We have revised damping, new air springs, some changes, retuning to the roll mitigation system here. You definitely feel the weight from this R1S. This is not a light SUV, but all things considered, it does still handle and drive really well with the new suspension changes for 2025. Let's do a little 0 to 60 here. Brake pedal feel is good too. We're just gonna roll into it. That's awesome. 60 miles an hour should happen in around 3.5 seconds or so. Let's drive down some dirt roads here, some rougher, bumpier pavement. See what NVH is like, ride quality, all that good stuff. Suspension is super smooth here. Granted, this isn't that rough of a dirt road. Honestly, it's smoother than some of our paved roads in Michigan. Tires are soaking up imperfections pretty well. Suspension feels nice and composed. A few shakes and rattles from the seats in the back, something around here. But overall, it's not too bad. I will say, this R1S has really grown on me throughout the week. The more time I've spent in it, the more I've really started to kind of enjoy driving it and living with it. There is quite a bit of noise from the suspension in this, especially at lower speeds. I think that's something that Rivian could work on refining a little bit. But is it excessive? I don't think so. So in all-terrain mode, we can control our ride height. We choose between standard, high, and highest. Regen, standard, or low or high. Ride feel, soft or firm. Stability on, reduced, or if you hold it, you can turn some things off. Yeah. We're not going to play around too much with that. We'll just leave things on for today's video. All right, let's go back into sport mode and we'll take this through some corners. Really nice and flat through there. Neutral. This handles very, very well. This is next level compared to the Cybertruck around a corner. Yeah, considering this is on all terrains, the handling is amazing. Good mechanical grip. Really well balanced, nice and neutral around a corner, easy to drive, stability control is not intervening too much and causing you to kind of get nervous about the vehicle. Inspires a lot of confidence. So far, I like this highway driving assist system. It's easy to use. It's not a fully autonomous system or anything like that, but it's intuitive, easy to change things like following distance, speed right here. You can cancel everything very quickly, take over the control yourself. And when you do cancel cruise control, it doesn't immediately slam on the regen. It kind of bleeds off. So there's a nice transition between the car having control and you having control with the accelerator pedal. Little things like these turn signal mirror cameras, those come in handy. The graphics on the center display showing you vehicles around you are nice, though they can kind of be a little buggy here and there. do wish there were a way to resume your previously set cruise control speed in this. It just seems to kind of pick up to whatever speed you're at, which I guess is fine, it works. I did use this earlier this week in some stop and go traffic, and the adaptive cruise worked really well. All right, we're still in sport mode. Let's take one more highway exit ramp and see what type of grip we get here. Hard on the brakes. Pedal feel is quite good. All-terrain's complaining. That is just incredible. There you go. Rivian R1S. I wouldn't really want more power in an SUV like this, if I'm being honest. This is quick enough. Let's test out the sound system. Sounds pretty good to my ear. It's not super clear, but the bass is strong. There are better in-car audio systems for the money in the class, but it's still respectable. All right, let's sum up some thoughts with this Rivian R1S. So the performance here is just insane. It's mind-blowing what this can do compared to every other luxury performance off-road capable SUV. It makes everything else feel like a dinosaur. The acceleration, the handling, the ground clearance, the off-road capability here is kind of second to none as an overall package. It's really impressive what Rivian has been able to do, and this isn't even the most powerful R1S. It's crazy. I love the interior and exterior design. This R1S just looks and feels so special inside and out. Only complaints that I have: steering wheel leather doesn't quite feel up to par for a $100,000 SUV, and there is quite a bit of suspension noise over bumps. Also a lot of rattles in this interior. That's pretty typical with an SUV with lots of seats, lots of rows, but again, this being an EV, I feel like Rivian does need to improve their interior NVH. It's just a little bit rattly, a little bit vibrating. Nothing major, nothing terrible, but it is something that I think they could improve upon and do better with. The tuning, the calibration here is really well done. I like the changes they've made to the suspension. This feels a little bit more buttoned down and better to drive on road. It rides great. The throttle calibration is excellent. Love the one pedal driving. The range is excellent depending on what trim you go for. There are a lot more options for trims and packages in this 2025 R1S, and that is nice to see. overall, it's a great driving experience. I've really enjoyed living with this week. I would consider buying one of these someday. There isn't really another SUV or even truck on the market that does everything that this Rivian does. Even the Cybertruck, I think the Cybertruck's maybe a little bit more fun to drive, but it doesn't handle as well. And there definitely isn't as much ego attached to driving one of these around. So overall, I think it's a pretty cool package. I like the added simplicity here with the architecture for the 2025 model year. Stuff like that is just only going to improve and get better with time. Software feels pretty good here overall. It's been a great EV to live with this last week. I would like to spend some more time on something like this, but hopefully Rivian will send us some more vehicles to test and review for you guys in the future. That's going to be it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Little grasshopper. Move along, little guy. It does look proper with a little bit of dirt on the tires too. Such a great looking SUV. It's kind of the right size too. It's not full-blown Chevy Tahoe big, but inside the packaging is excellent. There's so much room in here, so much space. Cameras are really nice and high res. And that just doesn't get old. We'll end on that note. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one.